internal martial arts, what it really means, because for at least what from your experience.
They don't exist. It's just a myth. Just madness. As you know, we're talking about the Tai Chi guy who got his, got knocked out or whatever. Tai Chi is internal. It's just bullshit.
It feels like it's more of a marketing ploy.
Oh, it is now.
Absolutely.
It is now, absolutely. But it's nonsense. A high-level BJJ guy is much more internal than 95% of most martial art people. It's all about the individual. It's all about how, are your arts internalized?
Mm-hmm.
If they're external, your movement is big, clumsy, hard, stiff, and then slowly you will become softer, not so obvious, and internalized. Any art's the same, whether it's music or martial art. It is an art. So it's whether or not you've just because the art you practice is supposed to be internal, which we know is.
That doesn't matter.
It's nonsense. It's just stuff that's propagated and bastardized and westernized. It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. Is Tongbei external or internal? Is Singi external?
It's like we were just talking about the guy standing for hours.
Yeah,
that's not
hours.
Internal, is it?
No, it's not internal.
But
it's just
it might be part of the internal art category, but that
there is
doesn't
no
make any difference.
No. I mean, if you've lived in China and you've been in ground zero and seen it and talked, they'll just say it's just nonsense. It's just something you read in a magazine to sell. It's a selling point, isn't it? It's nonsense.
You wouldn't say it even comes down to the inner school, the inner teachings. There's nothing to do with that either. That's just makes it feel secret. And
that's a good selling point. All you need is good basics. But the teacher, they won't necessarily tell you or explain to you that the basics are pretty much the high level. You have to go through this process of learning this, that, climbing up the mountain and blah, blah, blah. And then you realise it was just what you learned in the beginning. It's pretty much the way it is.
With different eyes.
Yeah, you see it, you have different understanding,
of
course. It's a process, you have to go through that process.
Yeah, and it's just like you're talking about BJJ, it's the same thing, like you
learn
your arm bar and your choke in day one, and you still use it in year 40.
You know how to put it on.
Different way of doing it.
Your understanding is a much higher level. So that's really internal. You really internalize it. And if you're really high level, you can put it on at a stroke. You can even tell someone when you're going to do it. Like putting on a technique, you can say, well, I'm going to put it on now. I'm going to use my left side. I'm going to put it on the right arm. And they still can't stop it because you're so good. You've internalized. You're such a good level. So that's internal, isn't it? That's really a good level to be at. That's where you want to be. Doesn't matter what you do, Wing Chun, or Shaolin, or Taekwondo.
The names are relevant.
The names are relevant.
It's like you said, it's the person.
I always remember when I was a student in China, and my professor, because I was crazy about martial arts, and I would always ask the teachers and professors, do you know anyone? So my professor, he was a great guy, Professor Liu, and one day he called me into his office. He said, Paul. He said, one of my students, he's a Chinese guy, Chinese student. He said he practices martial arts. I've told him to come into the office in a minute, and you come and meet him. I said, great, Professor, I'll be there. When you tell me, I'll be there. So I went in and I had a chat with him, young guy, and so I said, you practice, Professor Liu said you practice martial arts. What do you practice? And he was like, I don't know. I said, you don't know? And they said, no, I don't know, but he said the teacher's really good. And I thought, that just sums up typical Chinese attitude, I don't even know what I practice. I don't care if it's Xingyi, Bahua, or Tongbei.
Does it work?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't care. I never thought. How strange is that?
Yeah.
For a Westerner, it's kind of like you don't know.
You need to know what it is and where it belongs.
Yeah.
And
what often people say, I want to learn such and such.
You don't know what it really is.
But in China, it's a different. It's like you kind of learn. You're lucky to learn from somebody good.
Yeah.
Really irrelevant. When I first went to China, I'd never heard of Yin Chun.
Sure.
Never heard of it. And then I got, slowly got introduced to it because obviously Tianjin is where it started and, where it became popular and blah, blah, blah. So I got to understand, but in the beginning I was like, where is it? There was no internet and,
Yeah, but you don't care.
Well, I didn't care, but it was just that typical, anyway, that guy that day, that just summed it up for me. I thought that was brilliant. What do you practice? I don't know, no idea, but it's good. I thought that was really, that really made me smile.